Just so you know, major spoilers in this video, so you've been warned. For those of us trying to overanalyze and understand every little intricacy about The Force Awakens, I think the one scene that is obviously shrouded in the most mystery is Rey's vision that she has at Maz Kanata's cantina. Now again, I'm assuming you've seen the movie because this is very spoiler heavy, so we're basically having a discussion about this, but you've obviously seen that Rey is in the cantina, hears the screams of a young child that is later revealed to be her when she's like 5 years old, and watching her family fly away as they leave her on Jakku, presumably. But she hears the cries of a child, wanders down the stairs, goes to the end of this hallway, and finds a small chest, which she opens up and finds the lightsaber of Luke Skywalker, formerly Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, that basically has been passed down the family. And when she touches it, erupts this whole vision of a lot of things. Now, before I go on, I feel like this is something that we've somewhat seen before in Star Wars, from the scene in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke goes into the little forest area that Yoda says is shrouded with the dark side. He encounters essentially the robot Darth Vader, which he chops off the head, the helmet explodes, Luke's face is in there, and that's basically that. That's, I think, Luke's equivalent of a Force vision that Rey in this instance had, but because it's a more modern movie, was obviously hyped up and way more theatric. But I'm pretty sure that if Maz Kanata had been standing at the top of the stairs with Rey and she was like, "What's down there?" Maz would have looked at her and been like, "Only what you take with you," because that would have been perfect. So real quick, let's break down everything that we saw, and in some cases, more importantly, heard throughout this vision that Rey had, starting with, obviously, Darth Vader breathing. Rey then finds herself in a hallway from Cloud City where Luke encountered Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. We also hear the scream of "no" from right after Darth Vader tells Luke that he is his father. Through it all, we hear Yoda in the background talking about the Force, saying its energy surrounds us. It binds us. We see Luke presumably reaching out and putting his hand on R2-D2 with some kind of fire in the background, which then turns into rain when Rey sees Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren with a bunch of slaughtered bodies around them, presumably Luke's Jedi Academy that he started up, but again, open to interpretation. We hear Obi-Wan, Alec Guinness Obi-Wan, say the word Rey, which was obviously taken from another soundbite from the original movies, but we hear that, and it was used, and it was well done. We see the encounter with Kylo Ren in the snowy forest that we later see in the movie, and then finally, the last little bit of the vision, as she falls backwards back into reality, the words, "These are your first steps." Now, how to break this all down is somewhat of the real question here, because nobody is really sure, because there is a lot of mystery surrounding this movie with both this vision and Rey's origins, you know, the purpose of this whole video. I've seen some people online suggest that the lightsaber has some kind of attachment to the Skywalker family, and the suggestion that Rey might be of a Skywalker bloodline once she touched the lightsaber, essentially bringing back those flood of memories. I think it's a little bit more the Force itself is what brought back the memories, and with both the Force surrounding Rey and essentially the Force surrounding the lightsaber, because we hear it said over and over, the Force surrounds everything. And when she makes that connection with the lightsaber, even though it's not necessarily a living being, it brings back this flood of information, and in a sense is the Force really awakening in her to where she suddenly sees all these things, feels these things of where this lightsaber's been, what she might be capable of, and in general, I guess, to rehash the point, the Force awakening. I can somewhat see people's criticisms about, well, why haven't we seen the Force used in that way to inspire memories and visions for other people in the past, to which I referenced The Empire Strikes Back to some degree, but more so that in this movie we learn a few new things about the Force. One example being of something we haven't seen before is Kylo Ren just essentially reaching into people's minds to pry information out of them, because if that was a thing before, or maybe it was a limitation of the Sith, which they basically stress Kylo Ren essentially isn't technically a Sith, but if it was, why would Darth Vader not have done that to Princess Leia in A New Hope to get information about the Rebel base? Because, like, they resorted to that floating black mini Death Star looking thing with a needle on it. Would have been interesting, though, because if he did reach into her mind and saw visions of Leia's memories of her mother, which she said she had in Return of the Jedi, he would have been like, whoa, what the hell? That's my wife in your head. Who are you? But that's just, again, whole nother thing that we haven't been introduced yet with the capabilities of the Force, that maybe in this instance, when her energy of the Force and the energy of the Force that surrounded the lightsaber connected, that inspired that whole vision. Now, getting into how this all deals with the origins of Rey and where she came from and the possibility that she might be of Skywalker bloodline, I've seen a lot of people suggest that because she touched the lightsaber that belonged to Anakin Skywalker and then belonged to Luke Skywalker, that's what inspired the vision. But then you consider the actual vision itself. She hears Darth Vader, she hears Yoda, she hears Obi-Wan, and she hears Luke. So essentially, the last 4 Jedi that existed in the galaxy that we know of, because Obi-Wan got destroyed by Vader, Yoda died, Darth Vader turned back to the good side and became Anakin Skywalker again, and then Luke Skywalker's still alive. So basically, the 4 remaining Jedi, at least most recently, that were associated with this lightsaber, that's who she hears in the vision. Whether or not that's tied to a genetic link, I'm not entirely sure. But there also have been people suggesting that Rey might be the granddaughter of some kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, that one actually intrigues me a little bit more, and I somewhat, if they're going to make her any kind of lineage, and I hope they don't actually, but if they're going to make her any kind of lineage, I hope it's that one, because her being a Skywalker is just too convenient. We've had a lot with this family, and I'm fine with Luke being the Jedi Master. We already have Ben Solo that is pretty much from the same bloodline that is doing his own thing. We don't need the sister or cousin to come in, but if she was a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who maybe in his years of being a hermit Jedi, away from the Force, away from everything Galactic Empire, maybe had a wife, maybe had a kid, who then had a kid, and out of fear stashed her on this planet Jakku that she would be safe, and yada yada. Now, another theory I've seen about Rey being of Skywalker bloodline is the theory that she was yet another one of the young Jedi apprentices at Luke's Jedi Academy when Kylo Ren, being a few years older than her, and the Knights of Ren had their uprising, slaughtered everyone else. She was luckily saved somehow, or was in hiding, managed to survive in order to protect her from any outside influence, because Luke felt ashamed. He felt personally responsible for this tragic thing that happened. Puts her into hiding in Jakku with an older man that seems to have some kind of relation to Leia, some kind of relation to Luke. Lord Santeca, the old guy at the beginning that gives Poe Dameron the map, the rest of the map that he puts in BB-8 that he needs to get to the Resistance. That could have been the pseudo Obi-Wan Kenobi put on that planet to watch over Rey, much like, obviously, Obi-Wan over Luke. I think that might be something that holds the most water based on the suggestion of both what he says to Poe Dameron, his feelings toward the Resistance, and his familiarity with Kylo Ren and Kylo Ren's family when they have that brief encounter. So, as far as the Skywalker bloodline is concerned, at least that theory, that part of it holds the most weight in my opinion. Now, another thing that I'm going to keep a watchful eye out for when I go see the movie a third time, because that's definitely going to happen, is the notion that everyone of Han, Leia, and Luke, when they first see Rey, or at least know who she is, have this feeling of like, oh my gosh, it's you. I didn't necessarily pick up on that the first 2 times around, but I also wasn't looking for it, and maybe it's there, I just didn't see it at first. But that is another thing that I think could be very applicable as something of, they had knowledge of who she was and what she was capable of, and they knew that she was on Jakku. And upon finding out that this is the girl that was Force sensitive, we left on Jakku, and yet here she is. Oh, and R2-D2 woke up when she was finally around. Kind of lends theory to a lot of that kind of stuff, that everyone may have known who she was and what she was capable of, and now that she's there, they're more than comfortable with her seeking out Luke and trying to restore the Jedi Order to once again bring balance to the Force. But that's all theories that I've gathered from online. I know it's a little bit discombobulated and all over the place, and I am more than happy to have discussion in the comments below, because this is a lot of fun. It's so much fun to have Star Wars that we have speculation about. We don't know where it's going, but it's well written, and it's exciting to see how these characters are going to develop, and also how they're going to develop essentially where these characters came from, because we don't know, and there's a whole lot of mystery. So, if you have your own thoughts about Rey's vision or Rey's origins, please hit up the comments. I am stoked to talk about all this, because I had fun with the new Star Wars movie, I gotta say. So, hit up the comments. I'm gonna do more videos like this, too, as I figure stuff out, because it's fun, and it's just part of what has made this all so great. Again, I would recommend go to the Star Wars subreddit on Reddit and read some of the stuff there. There's a lot of good discussion. If you feel like bringing anything you read there over here, totally cool with me. But anyway, be sure to do that. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more like it. And as always, thanks for watching, everybody, and may the Force be with you. Hey everybody, thanks again for checking out this video. If you want a little bit more Star Wars stuff from me, check out the annotation link on the right for my top 5 worst changes made to the Star Wars special editions. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. And again, everyone, thanks so much for watching.